Hey, welcome. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever stopped and thought about the God you believe in and ask yourself, do I really know who he is? Well, that's the powerful idea right at the heart of the book, Knowing God by Anatoliy Terekhin. It really pushes us to go deeper than just a surface-level faith. So let's dive in and see what that actually means.
So, the author kicks things off with this really striking analogy. Picture this. You're married. You live in the same house. You eat meals at the same table. You say goodnight, but there's no real connection. All your conversations are just superficial. And then years go by, and you have this sudden chilling realization that you're living with a total stranger. Pretty wild to think about, right?
And that is the exact problem this book tackles head-on. The author suggests that for a lot of us, maybe even most of us, our relationship with God is just like that empty marriage. You know, we go through the motions, we do the religious things, but have we ever really, truly tried to understand his character, his heart, who he actually is? It's a really challenging thought.
All right, so if that's the problem, where do we even start? Well, the book argues that before we can build a true understanding, we have to clear out all the junk, all the misconceptions. So it dives right into these common but really incomplete pictures of God that are so popular today.
Here are three of the big ones he points out, and you can see why they're popular. They're simple, they're comfortable. First, you've got the classic grandfather in the sky, just this sweet old man who winks and overlooks everything. Then there's the cosmic clockmaker idea, this distant, impersonal creator who wound up the universe and then just left. And finally, you have the divine vending machine. If we just put in enough good deeds, he's got to give us the blessings we want.
And this is where the author really hits the nail on the head. He says, look, while there might be a tiny grain of truth in some of these ideas, they're fundamentally warped. They're not the full picture you get from the Bible. In fact, they're basically just idols, little gods we've made up that are a lot more convenient for us.
Okay, so we've got these wrong ideas, but so what? Why is it so important to get it right? The author lays out three huge reasons why really trying to know God isn't just some intellectual exercise, it's, well, a matter of life and death.
First and foremost, and this one is a big deal, the book ties knowing God directly to the whole concept of eternal life. And we're not just talking about getting a ticket to heaven here, we're talking about the very nature of that life.
This whole idea is grounded right here, in a direct quote from Jesus, and listen closely to how it's phrased. It doesn't say that knowing God leads to eternal life. It says eternal life is knowing God. That relationship, that deep, intimate knowledge, that's the goal itself.
Okay, number two, wisdom. I mean, we live in a world that is just flooded with information, right? But the book argues that real wisdom, the kind that helps you live a good and skillful life, it all starts with knowing God. And this is built right on this classic verse. Now, that phrase, fear of the Lord, can sound a little scary, but it's not about being terrified. It's about a deep, profound respect and awe that you can only have when you start to grasp who God actually is. That's the starting line for all real wisdom.
And the third reason, well, it's pretty straightforward. The book points out that trying to know God isn't just a good suggestion. It's a command. It's a fundamental part of what it means to follow him.
I mean, think about it. How can you even begin to be holy like God if you have no idea what his holiness actually is? This verse is basically a command to study his character, to understand him, so that we can then try to emulate him. We have to know him to be like him. Okay, so this brings us to the real heart of the book. After tearing down all those modern myths, the author starts to build back a more accurate, more biblical picture of God by looking at some of his core attributes.
First up is self-existence. And you might notice the Russian word on the screen because our source material comes from that part of the world. Now, this concept is kind of mind-bending. Everything we know has a cause, right? You're here because of your parents. A chair is here because someone built it. But God just is. He doesn't depend on anything or anyone for his existence. He's the uncaused cause of everything else.
Next up, immutability, which basically means God doesn't change. Think about us. Our moods change, our opinions change, our bodies definitely change. But God doesn't. And the author says this is the absolute bedrock of our ability to trust him. Because his character and his promises are constant, we can have total confidence in him. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever.
Then we have holiness. This one's huge. And it's not just about being morally good. It means God is in a category all by himself. He is completely separate from everything he created, and totally, 100% separate from all sin and evil. His nature is often described as this pure, brilliant, unapproachable light.
So let's just recap for a second. We have a God who is self-existent,
who is unchanging, and who is perfectly holy. Honestly, that might sound a little intimidating, maybe even distant. But this is where the author brings it all together beautifully. He argues that all these massive attributes aren't in competition with his love. They are actually framed and expressed through his love.
And this verse just puts it all in perspective. It's because of his great love that this incredibly holy, transcendent God chooses to act. His love isn't just some passive, warm feeling. It's an active, powerful, saving force. It's what drove him to build a bridge across that massive gap between his perfection and our brokenness.
So, now what? We have all this amazing, deep theology. What are we supposed to do with it? Well, the final section of the book is all about application. Knowing these things about God isn't just for winning arguments. It's supposed to completely rewire how we live every single day.
So the author lays out 5 practical responses that just naturally flow out of truly knowing God. When you understand his nature, it should lead you to worship him for who he is, not who you want him to be. When you get how unchanging he is, it should lead you to trust him completely. Seeing his holy character should make you want to imitate him. That, in turn, will naturally lead you to obey what he says. And finally, when you experience all of this, you'll want to witness, to tell other people about this incredible God you know.
And that really brings us to the core claim of knowing God, that a true, deep, honest understanding of his character is the single most transformative force there is. It takes faith from being a vague idea and turns it into a vibrant, living, life-changing reality. So the final question the book leaves us with is this: if you really pushed past the myths to truly know God, how might that change everything for you?